Okay, we are live, and the discussion for today is around the human capacity stuff, and probably would be touch basing on the human cap table, seeing that a lot of LLM models are being deployed in India for getting the data sets. So, how to deal with this, and what will it bring for a country like India and the others henceforth? So, I'll just put myself on mute for a couple of minutes. Let me fetch the data, and then we'll start. Okay, so right now, the training of most of the large language models is on synthetic data. Synthetic data, particularly for very simple word, means a data set which is developed based on hypothesis, which is not actually a data per se, but has been orchestrated by different individuals to just give input data so that they are in a position to have some kind of output data. However, the fundamentals of any protocol is, or rather say, protocol and the alignment with the intellectual property rights in 2025 and beyond is the need of the hour. This year itself is the year of copyright, and not from today. I think way back 7, 8 years back, there were loads and loads of enterprises who were trying to overtake um, WIPO and the other authorities of United Nations and try to build their own uh, orchestration utilizing the data set which is already available on the World Wide Web. Now, the protocols which are deployed for the World Wide Web is changing rapidly because so many models are being worked out, whether in association with any of the stakeholders. So I will fetch that data set and probably discuss in terms of the framework of maybe few pattern applications. So pattern application doesn't mean that it is henceforth the order in which it has to be done. Any kind of application which is filed before any of the authorities is just kind of a playbook whereby anyone who has access to the internet can look into it. And it was very clear to us. I mean, 2 decades back, it was very, very clear that whatever databases were being developed for the patenting, perhaps in terms of the intellectual property right, which is supposed to be 20 years, but when we look into the hashtag pharmasafe, it is evergreening which comes into play. So, pharmasafe. So, I'm giving this data set for anyone to prepare their own protocols because right now it is very, very evident that the world is at SOS in the offline world. However, with the right coding in the online world, a lot can be mitigated. A lot of folks are talking about chaos without even understanding the word chaos in real sense. I mean, somebody who was not very active over the internet, maybe from 1990 till 2010, they're not even the actors who should be talking about this. They can be uh, I would say, utilized for some kind of data fetching or input data. That means just doing the writing the data in a proper format. I mean, even the English understanding has to be clear because most of the folks are not able or they haven't been taught English in the right way. English is supposed to be universal language over the protocols, and when the language itself is being questioned in terms of what internet is all about, So the language itself has to be rewritten, and it has to be rewritten till the time at least a part of the chaos is being able to be mitigated, not by filing pattern applications, not by coding, but by signing the associations between the countries, where the stakeholders are not only signing the MOUs, because MOU is just a memorandum of understanding stating this, like maybe in this timeline we are going to do XYZ or A to Z if we talk about English as a language. However, English is not the root of the root of the languages is, or any language perhaps, is a way it's communicated to the other person in terms of how the thought process is communicated. So that is something which has to be dealt with. Right now, infringement is very rampant, whether we talk about intellectual property rights, and because in the intellectual property rights arena itself, the infringement is so rampant that whether you talk about any of these so-called innovations, they are not innovation per se. When you look at the prior arts, prior art has nothing to do with the drawings here. Prior art here is being referred to any kind of invention which has been filed over the years, maybe 100 years, 200 years back, because the whole ideation of internet perhaps is written in different protocols, not from today. And IT itself, which is International Telecommunication Union, is 160 years plus old. That being said, what is the importance right now is to acknowledge whether if you're copying, even if somebody's on stage. I mean, I was part of these conferences way back before the lockdown, because when I was just back from China, everybody called upon and they wanted to understand blockchain for the reality aspect. But it was just one of the, I would rather say, facade use case study stating that the proof of work is 10 minutes, where the proof of work was nothing to do with 10 minutes. It was just a data set to see how the folks globally take this. And most of the folks just messed up. I mean, the mess up is so much that the chaos has increased to the momentum. It is next to impossible by common people even to understand and appreciate what is happening in reality. But since the entropy is always increasing, and that is not what I'm stating, it is already being stated in PubMeds, and the scientists have been talking about it for the longest time. Entropy always increases. And because of this lockdown since 2020, so much came online. At the same point of time, the infringement was so rampant. Say, for example, we had the N90 mask, but most of the folks never understood that. People started selling, a cloth mask, which again is harmful to the Homo sapiens sapien. So the first line of defense is always the nature, and nature is the biggest blockchain. We have been uh, focusing on it for the longest time. And due to that, there have been instances globally in the world where the animals have given the verdict that it is an SOS in the offline world. Uh, the way it has to be understood is to at least acknowledge if you're taking a data set from someone, because every third person in this world is trying to be an author, because you have these LLM models, which is nothing but a raw data set, which is maybe unfiltered but not the right data set. How can a 10-year-old write an English language which, at least, I mean, the best of the best people don't have in their dialect? That kind of language is being used in these poetries. People are publishing books. Everybody is becoming an author without even understanding the purpose of being an author. So that mindset has to change, and it has to change fast. And that is how these DAOs are particularly autonomous decentralized organizations who are looking into the protocols and trying to negate the impact of whatever is being done, whether it's in the offline world or the online world. And at the same point of time, sustainability is the core of anything and everything. Now, all these brands which are selling things off, a- achieving the pin codes and everything, postal is being stopped. At the same point of time, we are talking about GPUs and all. Let me tell you, GPU is zero right now. We don't need that much of power to compute, because when this AI stuff itself is so wrong. Why you need a computing power at the first instance? Just develop the small language models to solve your problems with a control data set. Control data set means each individual knows the other person, because that's the framework of blockchain. First is the trust between the parties, and there's no middlemen, middlewoman, nothing. It's like the data transfer has to be like from A to B in real time. And that being said, Trust is one of the framework of blockchain. Second, perhaps, which is very important, is the proof of stake, and proof of stake can be made more stronger. And the Indian government right now has to take cognizance of the LLM models which are being signed off in India as a freebies. Freebies never helps, and India should have control over the data which these models are being taken, and how that data would be utilized, because then it can be utilized to drive their own agenda items. And right now, honestly speaking, there are few countries in the world which are at risk of being lost in terms of the natural calamity. And India being above the equator, this particular land per se has a lot of history, a lot of advantage as terms of, or in terms of the location. Perhaps uh, the data set which we have right now is alarming, and with that alarm, I don't know how the stakeholders will negate the current menace, because plastic pollution is really a big pollution. Delhi doesn't even have good water, drinking water. Forget about drinking the water which is coming in the pipelines is dirty. This is not the leaky pipelines. The whole pipeline has to be changed. The pipelines are like not this government, but even the previous government didn't look into that aspect, and it is just the new models which are being developed is trying to negate it. But a lot of infra work has to be done, and we have to start with Delhi first, because Delhi itself is the capital, and first we need to secure the parameters right, so that rest of the things, at least whatever can be done, falls in place. If you have any questions, just send me a DM. We are trying to negate it 24 cross 7. I won't say 24 cross 7, more than that. The team is doing in and out globally just to get the data set right. And we are trying our best to mitigate the SWOT analysis, which in terms of the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So the threats has to be in lieu of the thinking capacity, and the intelligent humans have to be collated and kept in a, we talked about this earlier also, they have to be kept in a particular commune, so that they can work 24 cross 7 and come up with the not the ideation but the solution, because ideation stage is over now. So thank you for watching this out. Have a great day ahead.